Welcome to Tech Brothers. In this video, we're going to learn how to install and configure your own domain controller in Microsoft Azure. If you decided not to use the Azure Active Directory, you can create your own domain controller in your Azure virtual machine. These are the high-level steps right here. First, we're going to learn how to connect to our virtual machine in Azure portal. There are a couple ways that you can connect with your virtual machines in Azure. And then we're going to configure virtual machine static IP, because one of the requirements of domain controller is that the server should have static IP. Now, configuring the static IP is a bit different in Azure. We need to do it from the portal. I'll show you in a second. Then on-premise. On-premise, we go in the server and we go into the networking and set up the static IP there. But in Azure, it's a little bit different. Once we set up our static IP, we are going to install and configure DNS Active Directory roles, just like we do in on-premise, and add the roles and features. Once those roles and features are added, we're going to configure or promote our Active Directory domain, DNS. And then we will test our DNS. We will remote into our computer using the DNS actual name rather than localhost. So we'll see that if we are able to remote into our computer. We are planning to add another DNS for high availability, but that would be continued in next video. I have put right here, if you decided to remote into your virtual machine from your local computer, which is not connected or which is not in the Azure portal, you need to provide a public IP, and then / means that's local, and Raza is the user administrator that you created when you were creating the virtual machine. Your name might be different, and put the password and click hit enter, and you should be able to remote into your virtual machine. So let's go take a look on our portal. Once you are in the portal, you can click on virtual machines. All the virtual machines that you have created, they will show up here. In my case, I have just only one virtual machine right now. We're working on one domain controller. We will work on the second domain controller later on, and we will add the other virtual machines that's required for setting up SQL Server high availability in MS Azure. So the first thing is that how do we connect with our virtual machine? If you click on TBS AZDC1 or whatever your virtual machine is, you'll see the public IP on the right side. This is the public IP assigned to this machine. So this is the public IP that you will use in order to remote into machine. So you can directly connect from here. If you click on connect, you will see the options that's here, that how you want to connect. Again, if you look at it, it's a public IP assigned to this machine and the port number. Keep in mind that if RDP protocol or port number is not open, it will not let you RDP. So you want to make sure that the RDP, this port number is open and that RDP protocol is enabled on your virtual machine. All right, let's go to our server. I'm already remoted into the server right here before we change our IP address to static IP. If you notice, in on-premise, we used to check here, and we used to set up our IP address from here. That would be the static IP. If you notice in IP4, right now it's obtained IP address automatically, and it will stay the same because we're gonna set up the static IP from the portal. And when we create DNS, it's gonna complain that this is the static IP is not set. Don't worry about it, because we know that we have set it up from the portal. So let's go back to our portal and set up the IP address from dynamic to static. Close this and go to networking and click on network interface right here. Let me go back to show you. Right here are the protocol that you can add inbound port rules right here. As you can see right here, RDP is enabled and the port number is 3389. If you don't have that, you will not be able to RDP it. You need to come back to the portal and add that RDP protocol and the port number and allow remote desktop to your virtual machine. So network interface, click on network interface and click on IP configuration. And here's my ipconfig 1, so let's click on that. And as you can see right now, the IP address is dynamic. We need to make it static. You can change the IP address as long as you as soon as you click on static, it'll let you change the IP address. Right now this is the default IP address that is given to this virtual machine. I'm gonna go ahead and change it to 18. And then once you make that change, we don't need to, if you wanted to turn off your public IP address, you can disable it from here. But I wouldn't do that because I remote into it separately as well. So I'm going to give static IP to this machine, which is 10.0.0.18. And once we make this change, we need to click on save. And usually saving is a little bit it takes a little bit time. And you can look at the status from right here. Saving network interface right now is running and it's saving our static IP. And it will reset your machine right here. This is the message that is during this saving network interface status phase, it will reboot your machine. All right, the network interface changes are saved. We can go back to our, you can remote into your computer and see if the static IP is set. And we did set it up for 18. So let me click on virtual machines again. And I'm remoted already into the server. It's still in the process, but I'll go ahead and check the IP address. As you can see, 10.0.0.18, that is our static IP address. So we're going to close that. Let's go back to our steps that we were trying to accomplish. Now it's time for us to go ahead and add the roles and features for our DNS and Active Directory. So you need to remote into computer, open the Server Manager. You can click on Manage, Add Roles and Feature, or you can click right here, Add Roles and Feature. Click Next, Next, and this is our server, so we're good there. And we are going to install Active Directory domain and select all these features that it requires. Click on Add Features and Next. Click Next. And if restart is required, it'll restart automatically. It usually does not require restart, but I'm going to click if it requires restart, it'll restart automatically. Click Install. This installation is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause the video. Once the installation is done and we're ready to configure our DNS, in other words, promote our DNS and do all the good configuration, we'll be back. All right, our adding roles and features configuration is complete. Let's close this, and up here you'll see that it's waiting for us to promote our Active Directory domain, promote this server to domain controller. So let's click on that, and we're adding a new forest right here. This is your domain name, the root domain name. So in my case, it's going to be Azure TechBrothersIT it.local. Click next. And set up the password for the directory restore mode. Put a strong password, and also make sure that you remember this password. Click next. We don't want to turn on the delegation of this DNS, so don't worry about this. Let's click next. And it's going to pop up the NetBIOS domain name. Just verify that and click install. All right, as you can see that it did cut off the T part because we ran out of the characters limit here. So we'll go back and change. I'm going to do TechBrothers like this, AZTBS-IT, a local. All right, now it shows AZTBS TechBrothersIT. Click next. These are the database files, log files, and sysvolume files. I'm okay with installing everything on C drive. Click next. This is the configuration review. Click next. And up here is saying that if you click on install, it's gonna reboot. Keep in mind that when adding roles and feature, it did not reboot. So once the verification is done, all the prerequisites are met, and these are the warning. As I mentioned earlier, that is going to complain about that the physical network, that is the static IP, is not set, but we know that we have set static IP address from the portal, so we're okay with that. And default security is not configured right. Since it's a demo, it's not production, so we're okay with that. Click on install. Okay, the installation is completed successfully, and it is rebooted. Now I'm going back into using remote desktop connection right here. Now, since we have completed the domain DNS settings right here, now you will see the host name right here, tbs azdc1.aztbsit.local. So this is our domain. That shows that it's working quite nicely for us. Click yes. And there are a couple of configurations we need to do in order to finish this DNS settings. All right, let's go ahead and finish the zoning configuration of our newly created DNS. So I'm going to click DNS. And what we need to do is we do have a forward lookup zone, but we need to set up a reverse lookup zone. The difference between these two is that the forward lookup zone queries are that if we put a host name, it'll give us IP address, but reverse lookup zone does that opposite. If you give an IP address, and it'll give you fully qualified host name. So if you notice that aztbsit.local, this is all set. This is forward lookup zone. We're good there. And if we take a look on reverse lookup zone, that's not set. So let's go ahead and create a new zone. Yeah, this is a primary zone. and to all the DNS servers that's running on the domain controller in this domain. It's gonna implement this configuration on those. So click next. IPv4 setting, that's okay. And up here, network ID, in our case is 10.0.0, and whatever the IP address would be of the server that is going to be part of this domain. Click next, and you have an option allow only secure dynamics updates. That is recommended for Active Directory, or both allow both non-secure and secure dynamic updates. That means the untrusted sources can also update your domain controller. I like to keep it only the secure one, so click next and click finish. So we have set up a reverse loop